Do you want to be able to start selling your 3D prints and actually talk to your customers face to face? Today, I'm going to share my top tips for selling at in person markets so you can stand out, make more sales, and avoid some newbie mistakes. I am Ashley from Design and Forge Studios Print to Profit, so let's get into this. The thing that has to come before anything else is picking the right market. If you don't pick the right market for your ideal customer that's not a fit for you, then that market is not going to go well no matter how many prints you possibly bring. So if you have the opportunity to visit local markets, if there's something that happens weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, that is for sure the number one way to do it. Go out, see those markets, see who the customers are that are coming to those markets, get to know the organizers of the markets, because there can be a lot of clashing sometimes between organizers and vendors, and see if that is a market where you think your ideal customer is going to go. If that is something that you can do and you think your ideal customer is going to be there, then great. You now have somewhere that you can start. If you are unable to go out and see the market ahead of time, perhaps it's something that happens only once a year, as are some of the markets that I do, then you have to kind of see what their online presence is. Have they done this market before? That's number one. Have they posted about the market on social media that happened in the past? Can you go back? Can you look at pictures to see what were the crowds like? What was the advertising like by the person who's running the market to know if they're actually going to be able to get people to attend that market? And then you also want to look at the contract or the sign up form that they have, read all the details of that, ensure that you know what is the cost of the event. Is it a one time fee that you're just going to sign up, pay for your vendor fee, and everything else is yours? Or sometimes a few of them can get a bit sneaky and that they'll want you to either A, pay the fee and a slight commission, or B, they want to go on the commission base. Personally, I will not do a market that wants to take a portion of your sales. That is too questionable for me. I want to know if I'm going into a market, okay, my set vendor fee is, let's say it's $75. I know I'm going to be out of pocket that $75, but everything else, all my other efforts that I put into it, I'm going to get that money back. Versus you could have a really great show, but maybe they want 20% of your sales. Is that 20% of your sales really worth it to you then, when you have to now subtract that out of your profit and what's going back into your pocket in order to do that show? So always make sure that you read the fine print in the contracts or the sign up forms to see what they want to be paid and what you're going to get to take home. The next thing that you'll have to figure out ahead of time for the market is, what are you going to sell? For me, I know that these cute little eye-catching flexies sell really, really well at markets, and I figured that out at the very first market. We'll talk more about table setup later, but I had all my flexies on the end of the table, which was the first spot that people would see when they walked up, and that drew everybody in, and they would dig through all the little containers hoping to find a cute flexi that they wanted for themselves or for their kids. So those containers with those flexies have stayed in that same spot for me at each market, because I know that that now draws people into my table. But with this, you want to have an assortment of things that are going to be quick, small purchases for people to make. You want something that's only going to cost maybe $4 that somebody would be likely to make an impulse buy for their child. But that doesn't mean that you can't also have the bigger items on your table that maybe somebody will stop and look at for a minute before deciding to buy. I have some more expensive items on my table in terms of, obviously, bigger dragons. We all know, no matter what anybody says, dragons still sell. But I sell birdhouses and bird feeders as well. And some of them are up to $88 a piece because of how big and how much material they take. Perhaps you're doing a market that has a certain theme to it. I don't know about you, but right now around here, there's people doing pickle themed markets. There's actually a ton of different pickle themed prints that you can make. Maybe you're going to a market that is like a cheesecake only event, and they're actually allowing you to go. Now, you're not going to just print a whole bunch of cheesecakes, but there are a bunch of different baked good type things that you could do that would really make you blend in with that market. It does help as well if you can show what your capabilities are in your business. So if you're able to make custom signs, keychains, things that people can use in their kids' party favor bags, if that's what your niche is. My niche is geared towards moms and kids. Then you want to have some of those items on your table so that people can see what the possibilities are. We'll talk more about this in just a couple minutes, But you want to make sure people know that you also do custom orders too, because that is where it's going to lead to really growing and expanding your business. Unfortunately, we were running a little bit late getting to the last market that we were at, so I don't have a full setup video for you. But I just want to show you a little bit of the setup process. And in the background there on the left, you can see the A1 Mini, which I love to have at shows because I really think that it draws people in to the table. If I can tell you what my biggest pet peeve is when it comes to markets and how I've learned to make sure that I don't do that, it's having your prices be really obvious. As somebody who has been doing markets with my bakery for 5 years now, and I do them quite successfully, I rarely walk away from a market having more than just a handful of items on hand, having gone there with hundreds of items. I think that I have learned quite a bit about how to do it, what my customers want, how to lay out my table so that things stand out properly. But more so, I know that people do not want to walk up to a table where they don't see some sort of pricing sign, whether the individual items are priced or you have a big sign maybe that lays out what your prices are. There has to be something. People do not want to walk up to a table not knowing what the prices are. And then when they maybe get up the courage to ask what a price is and it happens to be more than what they want to spend, they feel super awkward to turn around and now walk away because they think that you think that, well, they just don't have the money to spend on it. So, in order to not make people feel awkward, to not put them into those weird positions, we always want to have our pricing really obvious. I use these prices on our table. So we use a navy blue tablecloth on our table. And these are our price signs, 3D printed, of course, really, really easy to make. If you want to know how to make these, I'm really happy to do that either in a short or a future video. Just comment below and I can show you how to do it. But those price signs pop on that table and there's no question about what our prices are. Ever since market number 2, when we finally had our price signs ready, I haven't had anybody question me about the price of something. So you can see that these dark navy tablecloths really allow for not only the prints, but the pricing signs printed in that neon green to really stand out, making it so easy for people to be able to see the prices. If you're somebody who likes to offer bundle deals, make sure that that's really obvious in your pricing too. Maybe you're selling something that's $8 each, but you're going to offer 3 of them for $20. People are more likely to step up to that next level and buy 3 if they see the deal. Sometimes I will offer deals, but it's not something I do every time because I don't want people to expect that. But it might be where maybe it's my birthday and I'm doing something specific to my birthday, or in my bakery, this year was 5 years of my business. So I did a really big, like 5 year, $5 sale for different things at the beginning of the year when I celebrated that anniversary. And then also lining up with pricing is payments. You want to make sure that you have an option that makes you look like a business. Don't have a sign on your table that just says, in Canada, our option would be for e-transfers, but for people in the States, Venmo, Zelle, that kind of stuff. You want to be able to have something on the spot that makes you look professional where people can do their payments right away. So for me, I use a Square reader. They can pay by debit card, credit card, right in that reader. It actually now taps on the cell phone. It's super, super easy to use. And I also have a cash box with lots of change in it. If you come to a market and you don't have change, you're really discouraging people from paying cash. And there are some people who only want to deal in cash. And I am more than happy to take that cash. So always make sure that you have lots of options because you want people to easily give you their money. You don't want to be pushing them away. Let's bounce back now to talking about taking custom orders. So if you have options to show what you're able to do, you can have a couple of those on your table, but then you also want to make sure that you have a way to take those custom orders. I have really easy forms that I use, just has the name of my business up at the top, customer's name, the date, their contact information, so phone number, email, and then the items that they want to purchase. And then I give myself lots of space at the bottom for any sort of customization. I can put in their colors, a font, any specific details that they have. But if you get this right on the spot, they are more likely to go through with that custom order as opposed to having to contact you after the event. Even better, especially if it's something where their name or child's name or somebody else's name is going to go on it, either you want to get that item fully paid for on the spot or you want to at least take a retainer. Now, I say retainer specifically because if you take a deposit, technically a deposit is supposed to be refunded. So this is something again that I've learned over the years in my bakery is to use the word retainer because you are retaining somebody's business to provide you with something, whether that is a service or an item, it doesn't matter what it is. So you want to either have them pay in full or have them give you a retainer to put towards that so that you know that they are locked in and going to be paying for that order. The last thing you want to do is take this fully custom order, go home, you're all excited, you complete the custom order, you reach out to contact them, and they ghost you, and you never hear from them again. And now you've wasted your time and your product to make this item that they don't want. So make sure that you're going to hold them accountable for picking up with having some money on the line. I'm going to tell you about another pet peeve of mine at markets, and I see it at every single market I've ever been to, whether I am going as a customer or I am there with the bakery. And that is that the business owners are not at all engaging. How many of you have gone into a market and you're looking around and you walk up to a table and they're sitting there in their chair, tucked in as low as they possibly can be behind their table, and they're looking at their phone? You typically do not want to talk to that person. You actually feel like you're probably bothering them if you go up to look at their table. So, what people tend to do more often than not is they just walk away. So, don't be that person who sits there on their phone looking like you don't want to talk to anybody, right? You want to be standing up, you want to be smiling, you want to be engaging. You don't need to be all over people. It was funny because the very first market that my son and I did was obviously his first experience doing a market. And in the beginning, he was very much like, look at this that we have, look at this that we have. And he was very excited. He wanted to show them everything, but it was too much, right? So we had to have a conversation about it a couple minutes later once there was nobody at the table. And I said, we have to give people room to look. It's great that you're engaging with them. He is really outgoing like that, which is awesome, especially for somebody in a business, but you also don't want to overwhelm them. So you want to say hi. If you have something that you can say about your product that kind of shows how you stand out from everybody else, then that's awesome. But at least have a smile and let them know that you're there so that if they have any questions, they can ask you. At the end of the day, one of the things that makes our businesses successful, it's us. It's not necessarily the things that we are selling, especially if you're going to be doing a business that is more face to face. You are your brand. So you want people to get to know you, feel comfortable with you, and to even seek you out when they go to markets. So you need to be the one to sell your brand and not just expect your products on the table to do that for you. Sorry for this whole setup video being of my son's back as he stacks some keychains and bookmarks. But again, we were running late, so the video angle wasn't necessarily my biggest priority. But what I would just want to say here quickly is make sure that you bring all your essentials. And if that means you need a checklist, then have a checklist. You need your tables, you want your phone charger, you need cash, you want snacks and drinks to get through the day. You want to make sure you have all the different types of displays. But then when you're there too, make sure that you're taking photos, take videos so that you can make reels or shorts after, and always keep track of what sells and what doesn't so you can improve your booth for next time. Whether that means you have a notebook or an Excel spreadsheet or whatever it is that you need, use something to track those sales because that is going to help you when you reflect back on that market and what went well or what didn't. If you found any of these tips helpful, I would love for you to comment below with what tip you found really helped you. And also, what is your number one seller when it comes to markets? Maybe you haven't started a market yet. What would you love to try selling at a market? We would love it if you would give this video a like. We are a new channel. We are trying to reach more people. It would really help us if you did that. And speaking of markets, our next video is going to talk about market saturation. And as a baker, I think that I can really speak on this. So don't miss that one. Subscribe to our channel so that you'll get notified as soon as that video goes out. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.